Welcome back to the Extra Point podcast from Cross Point Baptist Church. Today is episode 20. Crazy enough, 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 7, and then another 98% don't make it past 13. So
Oh wow! So
we're in the top percentage podcasts.
That's funny.
Today with myself, Rye, and Jim, we're going to talk through just 5 questions and then discuss Jim's sermon this last week. So it should be good. But before we do, Jim, how are you doing? How have things been? Obviously, baby boy is born.
Yeah, right.
Joel.
We have a new grandson. He's 1 week old today.
Yeah.
So that's been good, and then it's been a good week of getting a lot of stuff done. So I feel kind of good today.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, good. I was just saying before we hit record that there was a weird smell in the air last night, and they were like, "Oh, close your windows," all that. It was weird. Like, went outside and it was like, oh, like the worst rotten egg garbage smell ever.
Huh?
So they're trying to figure out. They're like, it's not a plant. It's not this. It's not that. People are like, is it volcanic? Because that happens, like sulfur gets released into the air before something explodes. I don't know. This is just people on the internet just worrying. So I got a buddy who worries a lot, and he's like, well, if we all get sick, we know that like the Russians poisoned us. And I was like, dude.
Chinese or
Yeah, I'm like,
bunch of
I told
people.
him, I said, I did hear that Putin's really concerned about Clark County. He's really concerned about us. So, but no. So I was up a little late last night. Following that, I was like watching a movie, and then I was just kind of following. I was watching all these comments just flood in through these Facebook pages. It was pretty entertaining. But in general, good. I don't think did we record since I got back from vacation? I don't think so. Did we?
No, because we waited until this week.
Yeah. So vacation, great, fun time, really fun time. Wish it was longer. But yeah, that was good. So, yeah, we got 5 questions to talk about. First one being is, what is your favorite thing about the fall? Not the Adam and Eve fall. There's not a lot good
Right,
there.
right. Just
The
autumn
fall season.
Yeah, so today is the first day. It hasn't rained yet, but it kind of feels like fall out there. And I'm already putting into practice my favorite thing. So I've got a hot tea in front of me, and I've been listening to a lot of jazz while I'm working on message prep today, Bible study prep. And I just kind of like that feeling of, like, I love the summer, but it's sort of a, like, sit in your office and, have, I don't do this a lot, but have a candle going, have some tea, listen to some music, and it's a good atmosphere. So I like all that, and it's still around here. It's normally pretty nice through October. I mean, sometimes we get like massive rainstorms, but that usually waits till November. So
Right, that's true.
it's still a fun time to go for walks and how about you?
Football season.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I love football. I'm enjoying football right now. There's a question that we'll get to that I'll talk about more football, but I love this is very on brand. I love fall movies. Like, I love the vibe of, like, it's a like similar thing. It's not just because I like movies, but like sitting at home and like there's a candle, you turn on the heat maybe. It's too warm still to do that, but like today, like, you turn on a movie and it's got a fall vibe, and it's just you drink hot chocolate and just enjoy it with a blanket. Like, it's just fun. I like that. And I like fall drinks. I like the pumpkin spices and there's a pumpkin chai thing that's at Starbucks that I love. So that's really good too. But next question is, what are some habits that you recommend that are not spiritual?
Yeah. So in some ways, everything's spiritual, right?
True.
But I know what you're going for here.
Things that are not
From the Bible.
right, from Jesus that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus did this, but I think walking is one. I mean, I think that there's a lot of emphasis the last few years about people trying to walk 10,000 steps a day, and I just think it's good to have a goal. Like, it doesn't have to be 10,000. My goal is 8,000, and so I I work at that, every day, and then um, also just kind of like this is I don't know, I would just call it wellness type
Mm-hmm.
things. Like I try to track the food I'm eating,
Mm-hmm.
exercise I'm doing,
Yeah.
and the rest that I'm getting, and
Mm-hmm.
those are just good things to. I think they're just they're habits.
Right.
I kind of geek out on a lot of that stuff. Not everybody, like for some people, the idea of just writing down what you eat is
Yeah.
horrifying, or
Mm-hmm.
getting off the couch, to go for a walk
Right.
is. But I think those are some things that I'd recommend.
Right. Yeah. I mean, similarly, like working out. I just got a membership finally at a place, and I've been going every day. I don't walk. I play basketball, but the exercise is the point. And walking is definitely the easiest like
Well,
thing.
you're not my age though. See,
Yeah, it's
when
true.
you're my age, you just be walking.
Before I had a membership, I would just go walk because it was easy. I could put in a podcast and just walk around. Um,
Where are you at? Up at where's your
Lakeshore Athletic
oh,
Club.
Lakeshore? That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been great. Jenna goes a lot. I go a lot. I'm going after this actually.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna work this morning at home, then go record the podcast, and then I'm gonna go to Lakeshore, and then come back and work more.
Is there a basketball group there at lunchtime or something?
No, I'm doing like my old workouts,
Oh,
like that
okay.
I used to do in high school.
Yeah.
I have yet to play with people.
Oh,
So I don't mind. I go and I play for about an hour to hour 15 to an hour and a half, and then I sit in the sauna for
oh,
10 minutes, and it's like the best part of my day. So,
yeah.
um, but oh, what was the other? Oh, journaling. That's not in the Bible, and journaling I think is really good. I'm terrible at it, but I think it's really good. Jenna does it every single day for like 20 minutes, and I envy her. But
Yeah.
I think that's a really good. Like similar thing with food. You could journal your food, but you journal your life, journal your prayers, journal your, yeah,
Yeah, how you see, I mean, I know it's not a God thing, but how you see God working in your life and your
right.
conversations and your
Mm-hmm.
interactions with people.
Yeah.
It's good to process all that.
Yeah, and have hobbies. I think having a hobby is a good idea.
Yeah.
Doesn't have like a non, like you said, everything's spiritual. I think we worship God through our hobbies, but that's a whole nother conversation. But have something that you specifically like to do that you enjoy that's not related to work or church,
Yeah.
quote unquote. What are your early Super Bowl predictions?
Haha, this is your football
This
question.
is my football question.
So I have a hope, and that's that Kansas City doesn't win again.
That's everybody's hope. I
I'm
can't stand those
tired of
guys.
them winning every year.
Yeah. Well, they're getting bailed out on a
And
consistent
it's only
basis.
been 3 weeks, right? So I know you're probably excited because the Vikings are doing
Vikings are
really
3 and
good.
0. Yeah.
Seattle's doing really
Seattle's doing
good.
really well.
We have some guys around here that like Pittsburgh. They haven't lost
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
But I
That's.
don't think any of those teams, maybe the Vikings, but I don't think any of those teams are going to beat Kansas City. So
I don't think
I'm,
Kansas. Again, I said it last year and Kansas City won, but I don't think Kansas City's. Wow, that's some rain. I don't think they're gonna win. Like, I don't think they're gonna win.
well, I hope not. One team that could beat them, I think, is Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo's
I would
very
like to
good.
see that.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to have a really strong quarterback in general to beat them. So
Yeah.
Minnesota is, their guy Darnold. Darnold, how do you
Yeah.
say?
Sam
Yeah,
Darnold.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's really having a good year.
Yeah.
Buffalo's got a really good
Yeah.
quarterback.
Josh Allen's probably the best quarterback right now.
Yeah, so that's where Pittsburgh and Seattle, in my mind, I don't think they're serious. Dallas is so
Hit or miss.
schizophrenic.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I have no idea, but I'd like to see Buffalo win.
Yeah.
There was a stretch when I was younger. I don't remember what years they were, but they went to 4 Super Bowls and lost all of them.
That same with the Vikings.
Oh, that's right. The Vikings did that too.
Vikings did that in
Yeah,
the 70s, so that when
yeah,
they had like the purple people eaters. They
yeah,
won. They went 3 out of 5 years and lost, or 4 out of 6 years, something like that, and lost all
yeah,
four. Yeah, I was. I wasn't alive, but it haunts me to this day.
yeah.
Uh, my prediction as of 9/25/24, Vikings Bills Super Bowl. That's my prediction. Hopeful
That'd be a
prediction.
good game. Yeah.
I don't know who like I don't know what else would it be. Favorite moment or memory from the summer.
So we talked about this one of the podcasts, but I had my big 60th birthday this summer, and my
Oh.
whole family came, and we went to a like a Airbnb, a nice
Mhm.
place, and outside of It wasn't Chehalis, but it was kind of east of there, a no-name place, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
really nice house, and
Yep.
we had a lot of good times. So that
Yeah.
was just a lot of
That's
fun.
that's fun. Yeah. My brother's wedding, like my family being town,
Hmm.
or if this counts, my vacation, if that counts.
What
It was
counts?
my last hoorah before everything else got going. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, those are good times.
yeah, fun. And lastly, if you could adopt any skill overnight, what would it be and why?
Yeah. So most people wouldn't say this, but I'm not super handy, and so when things go wrong at our house, like I
That's a good one.
sometimes try to fix it and it doesn't work, and then we have to call in somebody else to fix what I can't
Mm-hmm.
fix. So I would love to have every ability to fix
Yeah.
anything that goes wrong in a house. Our house is 80 years old, so
Uh-huh.
a lot of things go wrong in an 80-year-old home.
Yeah.
That would be it. Nothing glamorous. Just
Yep.
let me fix stuff and save us some money.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Practically, I'd like to learn Vietnamese overnight.
Hmm.
That'd be really great.
Hmm.
Um, Personally, I'd like to be better at golf. Although, I should mention this. I got a hole in one last week.
You did?
Yeah, someone was with me too for proof.
Man.
Yeah, I went and play. I had a pastor friend that was like, "Hey, do you want to meet up, talk about ministry?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." This was last Thursday. He's like, "You want to go golfing to do it?" And I'm like, "That sounds even better." And so we went and we were playing. It was like a 185 yard par three,
Wow.
and lost the ball. And I was like, "Where'd my ball go?" And I was playing a different ball because I thought I lost my ball. And then I go up to putt, and my ball's sitting in the hole.
That's a
It
great
was
feeling.
great. Yeah.
I've
So
never come close to that.
it was. I told my friends and family, I was like, I should quit because it can't get any better from here.
No,
So
man, that's impressive.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
not a lot of people do that.
it was fun. But yeah, if I could be better at golf, that'd be fun too. So.
Once when I don't golf anymore, but when I was younger and I was golfing, I thought I had a hole in one because I went up to I just hit the ball. It was like 160 yards, hit it perfect, and I didn't see the ball anywhere.
Mhm.
And so I just confidently went over to the cup, to
Mhm.
pick it out of there. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit behind the green.
The green. Yeah.
It just went probably about 10 yards, and it was
That's
on a little
funny.
slope.
That's
And it's like,
funny.
well, I was close. I was right on line and everything.
Exactly.
Man, that's impressive, Rye.
Yeah. What about?
Now you just have to go bowl 300 games. And
Yeah.
you'll.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. What's harder? I don't know. But yeah, I'll never bowl a 300 game. But we can continue to more of our serious conversation. We continue our series in the Gospel of Matthew. We covered Matthew 10, 1 through 15. Just a few questions regarding your sermon and then the passage in general. There's a quote that people often use that which I thought of as you were talking
Mhm.
about our calling commission. People say God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I've seen it with the word equip too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he equips. Because the whole point is, I read that passage in First Corinthians 1. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not all that.
Right.
And that's basically the paraphrase of, those six verses, 126 to 131.
Mm-hmm.
Think of what you were when you were called. Not many were mighty, not many were influential.
Yeah.
Not, and so we're just average people, and God doesn't. And again, with the disciples, the apostles, they had baggage. They were just average guys, and
Yeah.
so Jesus called them, and then He trained them, and He equipped them, and He helped them to
Yeah.
change the world.
And what I find interesting, I was thinking about this as well. It's like a rabbit hole. I was like, I wonder if he's gonna go down the rabbit hole. He didn't, which is okay because it would be a lot. But about the disciples, like all those guys, they would start really young in school. I don't remember what like they're like Talmud is one of
Oh
them.
yeah,
All the Jewish schooling,
yeah,
and you would go continuously, and then if you were smart enough, you would continue and continue and continue until you became down the line, and then eventually you became like a disciple of a teacher, and you were became Pharisees, all those things, right? And it's just like literally all those disciples are like high school dropouts. Like they're all failed. Like
yeah,
they were not smart enough to be a part of the religious. sects of uh, that time of first century Jewish
Right.
culture, and it's just interesting. I'm like, yeah, these guys all failed, but Jesus, like, I want you, which
Yeah.
just is really encouraging.
Yeah. So I mean, what they needed to do is not have ability, but availability,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they were willing to follow Jesus, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it was good. In your sermon, you also mentioned that we're commissioned by God a few times. I think I counted 13 times you said it.
You're counting how many
No,
times I
no,
said that?
I'm
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
I'm joking. But you did repeat it a lot, which was good. Now I think most people are going to be like, "Oh yeah,
I'm
well,
commissioned
I
by
am
God.
commissioned by God.
Yeah.
Like I've
Right.
this. Okay, please stop. Um, but we are commissioned by God in a general sense. Oh my. Um, but you also mentioned that we could be commissioned into a specific area or topic. What are some examples, and what do you think yours is?
Like one thing that I know we deal with at the seminary, and we deal with this at church too, is people wondering if God's called them to vocational ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and then how do you know that? And Jeff Orge has written a great book about our calling
Hmm.
that most students I think read early on at the seminary.
Mm-hmm.
If we just give it away for people that are wondering about all that, so they can read it and think about it.
Right.
So I do think there is like all Christians are called to some ministry.
Yep.
Some Christians are called to, well, I don't like the term vocational ministry, but maybe leadership, as a staff person or
Mm-hmm.
pastor in the church.
Yep.
Um, and then, as I mentioned Sunday, people just have different areas that they gravitate
Mm-hmm.
towards, and it's natural. It's kind of our calling is from God. A lot of times, it's something that we're already doing. Like I was going to be a teacher before I felt strongly called into ministry, and that's
Right.
just how I go about life. I'm not a teacher, right? But I teach in pretty much every setting, and that's a natural kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing for me. So,
Right.
um, and then I do think we talked about people groups too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, like I've known some youth pastors that just they never want to be a pastor. They just want to work with teenagers,
Yeah.
that's their calling. That's great. Um, or, we have people in our church that are really concerned and committed to refugee
Yeah.
ministry. So there's
Yeah.
all kind of things.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, I definitely feel I heard someone say, I don't remember, there was a term that was used. There was like something graces or something like that. It was like a term like used for like the specific topic or
Hmm.
area of ministry or life that a person feels called to, whether they're in vocational or not. And like, obviously, I feel a clear call to youth. But above that, and which is why I think youth as well is like the intersection of faith and culture. Everyone knows that I'm clearly interested in that. That's why I like talking about movies and TV shows and all those, like
Hmm.
seeing the intersection of those things is like you said, it's natural. It's like, oh, I'm passionate about this
Yeah.
just because of how God wired me. And so, um, yeah, some people are passionate about, oh man, like you said, refugee ministry, women's ministries. Like, oh, I was trying to think of an example, but I can't.
Yeah, I
Um,
just think it's good though too for people who are listening to lean into the things that you're interested in.
yeah,
Like a lot of times people think, oh, I love cooking, but you can't use cooking for
yeah,
God.
that
It's
could be a
like,
great.
yes, you
That's
can.
an
Yeah,
example. Yeah, or
yeah.
like sports.
Sports,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or whatever people do. I mean, we have a guy here at the church that's not his calling, but I was talking to him earlier. He's 78 years old. He's been retired for some time, and he's out here almost every morning working in the yard
yeah.
at church. And he just said, God kind of created me to serve, and so I like to serve. And then he
Mm-hmm.
told me because he's going through this long stretch of brush that he's gradually, getting rid of. He goes, I always just look at like 10 feet at a time. I don't want to like
Right.
look at the whole project
Uh
because it's
huh.
overwhelming. But
Uh huh.
I think that's great to be able to even have an interest, like work in the yard and see that you can serve God with that. He's
Right.
such an encouragement to me and to the
Right.
other people that are aware of what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every day that I come in, I see him. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
wow, he's really It's really going. How do we recognize when we are being called? Obviously, there's the we are all like you read the Bible and you understand
Hmm.
that if you're a Christian, you're called to make
Yeah.
disciples, love God, love others. But like, how do we recognize when there's like a specific calling on our lives?
Yeah, there's a verse in 1 Timothy 3:1. It says, and this is specifically for pastors, but if anyone desires to be an overseer, he
Mm-hmm.
desires a noble task. And so I do think that God kind of puts a desire in our heart, and that's part of the calling. I had an experience. I was in between my junior and senior year, and I was working for a guy working on. He was a landscaper and
Mm-hmm.
mowing yards one day, and it was almost like it's the closest thing I've ever had to God literally speaking to me. It wasn't that, but the impression was so strong that I knew by the end of that shift of working that God wanted me to be a pastor, and
Mm-hmm.
so I immediately went and told my youth pastor, applied to go to Bible college the next.
Right.
I mean, it was just so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and that sense of call is. But everyone doesn't have that, right? Some
Right.
people are wondering, well, what do I do? Like, I read a story about Francis Schaeffer one time. He wanted to be a pastor, but on the other hand, he wanted to be a lawyer, and he didn't know which one. He kept praying, and God didn't seem to answer. So he flipped a coin, and it ended up on pastor, theologian, and he's one of the great ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Talk about a
so
coin flip.
it's not always as definite maybe as like I feel like mine was. I know a lot of guys and girls, ladies at the seminary, just wonder too about it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I should be doing something for the Lord, but is it vocational ministry, or is it
Mm-hmm.
just using whatever job I have to?
Right.
And the answer is, well, you should use whatever job you
Yeah.
have,
It's like
but if God calls you to be
yes.
a pastor, I think you won't be able to do anything but do that.
Right. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. It's like there's definitely there's signs and hints of like yeah this is it's like there's the desire which you talked about. There's affirmation from others which
Yeah,
can is from God.
right.
Time definitely is the biggest indicator. Like it's like if I feel called to be a baker, but when I make cakes for if I make them for 2 years and they all suck,
Nobody buys them, right?
nobody buys them. People are like not encouraged by them. It's like, is that my calling or did I just try to make cakes? There's like time will tell as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and the last thing, considering the end of this passage, there seems to be a sense of urgency to share the gospel. How do we balance the importance in sharing the gospel with others while also respecting people's boundaries, aka not being pushy?
Hmm. I think the passage actually kind of answers that, right? So
Mm.
the Jesus talked about when you go and you go somewhere and they accept your message, that's great. But if they don't, shake the dust off your feet,
Yep.
which is kind of an expression for just walk away. And I think that we should try to share the gospel with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're resistant, more than once, right? When they're just really kind of anti whatever, it's just good to walk away and pray for them. Like there's people at church that are trying to win their spouse to the Lord or
Mm-hmm.
share with their neighbor,
Yep.
and I just tell them, yeah, do that definitely. But
Mm-hmm.
when they put up those walls, the
Yeah.
only thing that's going to break them down is prayer,
Yep.
and so we don't want to be pushy. I heard a illustration one time. It might have been Rick Warren that said it. Others have probably said it. But when the fruit is ripe, you don't have to yank it off the tree.
Yeah.
Like
It's true.
God's going to prepare people, and the point of that passage, going back to the end of chapter 9, is that the harvest is ready. The problem is not with the harvest; it's with the workers. So, in other words, there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
ready to respond to Christ, but there's not enough Christians sharing the gospel.
Right.
And so I do think that we want to err on the side of sharing, but it doesn't take long to figure out if people don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I always tell students this, but like you have to, if people don't want to outright hear, hey, here's Romans Road, here's the gospel presentation, and all that, which is great and works and is sometimes how people want to hear it. Then you just have to be more subtle about it, which sounds funny, but like if how are you doing if I said, Jim, how are you doing today? What'd you do this weekend? And we worked at a place that wasn't a church. I went to church on Sunday. It was really
Mm,
great. My wife and I loved this point that this pastor made.
yeah.
It's less combative. It's just, how was your week? Yeah, that's
Right.
what I was doing. And then uh like literal simple, like wearing a shirt. Like my mom wears shirts. I have shirts that are like Christian messaging on it, and people
Hmm.
read it and see it, and
Yeah.
like they might not say anything, but it's very clear. Like, oh,
Right.
this is about Jesus. Things like that that are simple and small. That are, maybe you have a cross on your
Hmm.
necklace, and maybe that's a little less than, because a lot of people wear cross necklaces, but things like that where you're more subtle about just sharing the gospel through different means than just, here's what the gospel is word for word.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but that's what we got today. Episode 20 in the books. I'll be back in 2 weeks again. But the movie recommendation that we got today is from actually a trilogy, How to Train Your Dragon. So it's a trilogy that I love, that is really fun, and I think everybody will enjoy it. Well, that's what we got. We'll see you guys next time.